Hey friends, this is Eric the Mind Control Guy. How's everybody doing today? I just got off work, so I am just plumb tuckered out. Did 500 plus mile trip today over to Western Illinois and back, so from over here in Indiana, so I'm kind of wore out. But anyway, I'm gonna hopefully not be too long on this. But I've had something I've been wondering about for a long time. Here in the United States of America, I got 50 states, and they call them the state. Our friends to the north, that is the country or the nation of Canada. Go south, that's the country of Mexico. You go off to Florida, about 90 miles, it's the country of Cuba. You go a little further south, you got various countries in an area called Central America. You go further south, there's a big piece of real estate called South America. Individual countries. All over Europe, they got countries, nations. Scandinavia, same thing. You go to Russia, China, all these places, Japan, Korea, Vietnam, all these places got all these countries, and that's to call them the country of this, the country of China, the country of Japan, the country of Russia. Why is there one country that is not referred to as a country? It's called a state. Why is Israel called the state of Israel instead of the country of Israel? Is Israel our 51st state or something? Is that why the United States gives Israel $10 million a day? They got counties here in this country, the United States, that are bigger than that country. Counties that are bigger than that country. And so I wonder, is Israel the 51st state that no one talks about? Is it unofficial? Is it just not talked about? Why is Israel called our closest ally and called the state of Israel instead of the country or the nation of Israel? Why is it called a state? Makes me wonder, with all the hoopla going on and all the, lobbyists that control the politicians through, blackmail and bribery and all that kind of nonsense. It really makes me wonder. Is Israel the 51st state of the United States that's not talked about or not officially brought out into the open? Is it? And if not, why is it not called the country of Israel or the nation of Israel? Why is it always the state of Israel when all these other countries are called just that? Norway, Sweden, Germany, they're all countries. Switzerland, Austria, they're all countries. Argentina, Chad, Nigeria, Egypt, Portugal, they're all called countries. And Israel's the only one that's called the state. So that's what I'm wondering. Is Israel actually, behind closed doors, is it actually the 51st state of the United States? You got your 48 states right here in the continental U.S. Then you got Alaska, which is on the other side of Russia. And you got Hawaii out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. They're officially states. The state of Hawaii, the state of Alaska. Why is Israel called the state of Israel instead of the country of Israel? Wouldn't that be a shocker if it was to come out or was to be discovered that Israel somehow became our 51st state? Is that why they get $10 million a day, if not more? And veterans here in this country say, we get told, sorry, we don't know you. I've basically been told that twice by VA, once in Indianapolis, once down in Cincinnati. They told me I make too much money. I said, I just want to talk to somebody. And they brought their attitude with them. And they told me, you ain't going to see nobody. You don't get to talk to nobody. You don't qualify. So I do what the average American does. I get out here and I work for a living. I'm 55. When I'm old enough to qualify to retire, am I going to actually get my retirement money? Or am I going to be told, no, some border jumper is more entitled to the money that you worked for the last 40 years than you are? Why? We know a lot of these politicians up in Washington are bribed and blackmailed and owned by these lobbyists. Why is the country of Israel called the State of Israel? If they're the country of Israel, the nation of Israel, then call them that. If they are somehow our 51st state, then that ought to be told too. But that's what I want to know. Why is Israel called the State of Israel and not the country or the nation of Israel? Makes me wonder. Was there a deal made a long time ago? Is that why Israel gets so much funding and other kind of support from the United States? While we have homeless here, while we have veterans living on the street, while we have just the country turning into decay. I was over in St. Louis a couple days ago. You talk about a rat hole. It is just, back in the 40s, a lot of these big cities in the United States were the picture of metropolitan paradise. Today, they are run down. They're a wasteland. Gang activity. Ghetto mentality. And they say, oh no, we can't do nothing about that. But let's go ahead and give these people overseas $10 million a day while our country is in disarray. Is Israel our 51st state or not? Somebody answer me.